Good morning everyone and welcome to our Microsoft Azure 101 for Not-for-Profits webinar. I'm Maybelline Middleton. I'm the Microsoft and Adobe Vendor Alliance Manager here at Beckler UK. Fundamentally, we are a IT solutions and services provider. We do form part of the wider Beckler ecosystem. However, in the UK, we span across 4 offices, Northampton, Manchester, Chippenham and London. We support customers across all industry types, from SMB to enterprise and public sector, supporting our customers with a wide portfolio across hardware, software, solutions and services. And recently, with recent acquisitions, we've expanded our capability and service offering as well.
Yeah, so my name is Naveed Iqbal. I'm the UK Ambassador for Tech for Social Impact here at Microsoft UK. Tech for Social Impact essentially is taking the traditional Microsoft Cloud model and adapting it for the non-profit sector. And our valued partners here at Beckler are doing a number of good things in the non-profit sector at the moment, which we can talk about. To you.
Cool. Yeah, I'm Dave. I'm the Azure Sales Manager at Westcoast Cloud. Been working with the team at Beckler for about 7.5 years, so it's been a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm here to get excited about Azure.
Cool. So just to kick things off, I guess the first question to ask is, what is Azure, and can you break that down for us a little bit?
Yeah, is it animal, mineral, or vegetable? No. It's just Microsoft's public cloud. Think of it like, from a customer perspective, or the charities listening, you get to split the overheads with tons of other businesses. So whether that's the power costs, the security of your data, the cooling, all of these things, you're going to have thousands of people leveraging one single data center. So those costs are split between multiple people. So we get tons of cost benefits there. And it also simplifies our approach. So as a business, it hopefully means that stakeholders in the organization have to worry less about the strategy, because sure, it will keep IT busy still, but other stakeholders in the business hopefully can have less to worry about. It gives you a bit of an answer. Happy to elaborate, but basically it's Microsoft's flavor of public cloud. It's obviously the best, so we'll justify that, but as a broad general definition, that's it.
Okay. And why should charities, for those charities listening today, why should charities be investing in Azure?
Yeah, okay, great question. So I think one reason would be Microsoft's investment in security. So it used to be $1 billion a year. It's now $4 billion, it's mega money. I know Microsoft's cash rich, but that is a lot of money. A lot of people don't look at Microsoft as a security vendor, but actually they throw down an awful lot to secure their platform. So for the organizations listening, it gives you peace of mind. Once your data is on that platform, it's Microsoft's credibility and reputation on the line, and they invest a lot into keeping that secure. So I think that's one reason it's good for them. I think another, and there's a caveat for me with this one, is if the customer's working with an MSP like yourselves, that's got worked with a huge number of customers on Azure already, had lots of successful deployments, that's where you can start to not only use a secure platform, but you can now dial in your cost and your performance. But I think the key thing for people listening is you want to work with an MSP that can give you an ongoing service. They can actually optimize the environment as you go, so make technical changes, and always looking out for you for ways to keep the cost down, which is something I like about how we work with you guys. We're quite often deploying reserved instances or scheduling virtual machines, so it feels like making sure the customer's getting a fair price is always top of mind for Beckler, which I like. So, yeah. Now, so why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about how Microsoft can support this war effort with Beckler and Westcoast? So what sort of programs are there? What kind of support do you provide?
Sure. So I'll tell you a little bit about Microsoft Tech for Social Impact first of all. So TSI is part of Microsoft Philanthropies. It's been around since 1982, but TSI was actually born in 2017. Essentially what we've done is we've taken the Microsoft Cloud model and we've adapted it for the non-profit sector. And there's a number of things that we can do. So we're slightly different to the larger Microsoft. There's 200 of us globally in the TSI team. and everything that we do gets reinvested back into the non-profit sector. So just to give you an idea, $3.2 billion was reinvested last year back into the non-profit sector, as well as 221 million donated by Microsoft employees, and then that was matched by the company as well. And there's currently about 330,000 non-profit organisations currently working with partners like Beckler, where you guys are sort of supporting them on their journey. And what we can do at Microsoft, we can support partners with a number of initiatives, marketing initiatives, funding to get them to retain, gain more customers and support those customers they have better. And I said there's a number of things we can do. We can do joint webinars with partners. We can do roundtables, face-to-face events. What we see in non-profits is they tend to lack the IT expertise that, let's say, for example, a bank would have, or somebody within another sector, because those guys are on a mission. You know, they're out there to fundraising. They could be painting a fence one day. They could be packing boxes the other day, and then they got to put the IT manager hat on. So
wearing a lot of hats.
Yeah, so they're wearing a number of hats. So the partner ecosystem is very important to the non-profit sector. And as I said, we support the partner ecosystem with a number of different initiatives to make sure they can get more customers on board. Roundtables, as I said, face-to-face events, webinars, do more with 365 events, do more with Azure events, Dynamics, all of that sort of stuff. So it's basically supporting the non-profit sector via our partner ecosystem. We are very partner-driven. We don't do direct business. We rely very heavily on our partners because they've obviously got that reach and they've got their expertise into the non-profit sector. So there's also funding available. We have a fairly reasonable budget to support our partners if they want to do some marketing into the non-profit sector. They want to do some telemarketing into the non-profit sector. We can bid for some funding to support our partner network do that as well. But the key here really is we want to work shoulder to shoulder with our partners. If our partners want to do an event into non-profit, we will push it out on our socials, Microsoft.com/nonprofits. We'll push it on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. We will send an email on behalf of our partner. So essentially, it's very much a joint effort to be, working jointly with Microsoft. And without having to blow Microsoft's trumpet too much, we have a huge outreach. Microsoft has a massive outreach, and it goes up to 87,000 non-profit organisations if a partner wanted to do a webinar with us. So, we're not naive. We know that our partners are going to make millions of pounds selling just Microsoft solutions, right? But what it means is that you gain that customer, and then the partners are able to upsell and cross-sell their products and services, whatever they specialise in. So we're very, 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 very invested in working with our partner network to support them with funding on marketing, support them with joint webinars. We would all attend those webinars. We would come, they can work from our locations. Reading, Paddington, Manchester, Dublin, Cambridge. We've got lots of space in the UK. It's massively underused. So we're encouraging our partners to come to those spaces, bring your customers with you, and we will do what we can at Microsoft to help you support, whether it be financial support, or it may be marketing support, or resource within Microsoft. So there's a number of things that we can do, but we are very much dedicated to non-profit, and as I said, Microsoft TSI is specifically around non-profit.
Love it. Can I just add something? As you mentioned budgets, I know something that we do Maybelline, like working quite closely with Beckler. There are ways that you can, as a non-profit organisation, get like substantial cost savings in Azure. I just want to give one example because I think one thing that can put people off is the fact that there's like one price. Essentially, whether we're thinking of that as corporate or just standard. Azure consumption has one cost. However, if we're a non-for-profit, what we can do is buy things like our Windows Server or SQL licensing on a separate price file. And I know one thing you can say about NFPs, right? Procurement, they all get stars in their eyes when they see the charity SKU. So yes, you can bring those types of licensing into Azure, bring your own license, and then you effectively aren't paying the monthly run rate of the operating system.
That's correct,
And it can make a massive impact.
Yeah, I mean, there's also, just to sort of touch on that as well, there's not just, marketing support that we offer our partners, but also for the non-profit, there are discounted licensing. As you mentioned, there's Azure as well. There's a £2,000 Azure grant, which again, that Azure grant sits directly with the end user, but it means partners can advise them on how to spend that Azure grant. And then it obviously brings in turn more opportunities.
Well, they can do a pilot, right? To show the customer what the managed service looks like.
Exactly that. So, it's easy to spend £3,000 worth of Amazon vouchers, right? But if somebody gives you a £2,000 Azure, I'm sure you could spend them very quickly. But I think if somebody give me a £2,000 Azure voucher, I really wouldn't know what to do with it, and that's we rely on companies like Beckless to be able to support us to do that as well. So again, there is discounted licensing, 80% off licensing. There's free licensing, and then there's also the grants that we offer as well. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how much we're invested in the non-profit sector. So those guys are able to do what they do best and the mission they're on and the fundraising that they do. So it's just supporting them do that really.
And a quick question from me. When we say not-for-profit, what are the eligibility requirements there, and how do customers look to sign up there?
Sure. Well, I always say it's probably one of the easiest grants they're going to sign up for, right? As long as you're a non-profit organisation, there's a blurred line between housing associations and education. It excludes housing associations and it excludes education. It is non-profit organisations, essentially registered charities, or any organisation with fundraising activities. There's an eligibility checker, which I will share the link with after this meeting, and then they just click on it and they fill in a few questions. It goes off to a company called TechSoup that we use for the eligibility checking, but we set the criteria at Microsoft. So there's a few questions, and normally it's 4 or 5 days for approval. If there's a hold up, that's why we're here at Microsoft TSI. Just drop me an email and I can escalate it. But normally it's a pretty seamless process in terms of the eligibility and how quickly they can apply for it. And I always say, once you've applied for it, once you've been accepted, go and take the grants, take advantage of the free licensing. At the very minimum, you deserve that as a non-profit organisation, and we have those offers. So just go ahead and take them, if anything. Yeah.
Okay.
So no worries. Just a question from me actually, Maybelline. So could you just tell us a little bit about the relationship that you have with Microsoft TSI, Tech for Social Impact, some of the good stuff that you guys are currently doing at the moment in the non-profit sector?
Yeah, okay, so we've been working closely with the TSI team for the last couple of years. You guys have been great at sort of coming into the office, supporting us with sales enablement training for our account managers. So that's been a big part as well, so that our account managers that are aligned to the not-for-profit space feel confident and comfortable when going out and speaking to their customer base and approaching customers to have these kinds of conversations. If there are any current challenges within Microsoft TSI?
Yeah, it's an interesting question actually, Maybelline, because I think it's been around since 2017, so in the grand scheme of things, it's fairly new. Microsoft TSI, while it is part of Microsoft Philanthropies, has been around since 1982. One of the key challenges that we have is raising awareness about Microsoft TSI. There's a lot of partners out there that are transacting in the non-profit sector at the moment, but they're not aware of the discounts and the support they can get from Microsoft. So one of my key challenges is raising awareness. So we're having to raise awareness internally and externally. So we're also talking to, there's people within Microsoft that don't know about Microsoft TSI, right? So, and that's through no fault of their own. It's just the messaging needs to go wider. We've got account executives within Microsoft, that are working with non-profit organisations. So we need to make those guys aware. And I always say, if we're not aware of it, how's a non-profit organisation going to be aware of it? So that's where obviously Westcoast Cloud comes into play as well. You guys have those relationships with partners, and really what we want to do is go wide via the distribution channel. You've got those relationships. We can talk to as many partners as we can via Westcoast Cloud and raise awareness on Microsoft TSI. That's great. So that's one of the key challenges. And if you're a non-profit organisation and you're paying full price for your licenses, you're not going to be very happy, right? When you know that there's discounts available. So it's about raising awareness. And as I said as well, we're also not naive to the fact that partners aren't going to make millions of pounds selling Microsoft, right? It gives them that foot through the door as well to upsell and cross-sell their services as well. The biggest challenge I think is raising awareness. There's not enough hours in the day to have one-on-one calls with partners and tell them about TSI. So it's about working smarter, not harder, and leveraging the relationship we have with our distribution channel and trying to get the message out there as much as possible. I mean, you guys are quite one step ahead of the game, really, because you're aware of TSI and you've been working with TSI for a while and you're doing some good stuff. But there are other partners out there that are working heavily in the non-profit sector that I think could really benefit from knowing about TSI and some of the.
That's partly because Beckless, you're quite mature in your cloud journey. I think compared to a lot of other MSPs, and the issue is whether it's yourself or us, we'll have that dialogue, but people aren't really ready to have that conversation.
Exactly that. And there's this general perception about, as you mentioned earlier, Maybelline, non-profit, not-for-profit, people think that if it's non-profit,
the partner thinks they're not making profit.
There's no profit, and that's not the case. Just because it's non-for-profit doesn't mean there's no profit, right? Because these, if anything, non-profit organisations lack the IT expertise in-house that other sectors would have. So they rely very heavily on the partner network. And I think since the COVID pandemic as well, when that happened, I think organisations were really struggling to raise funds and do fundraising remotely, working from home. Yeah. So they really, at that point, realised they need a partner to support them. Small things like firing up a mailbox and being able to work remotely or join a Teams call remotely. Those things posed a huge challenge for charities, and time is money, right? At the end of the day for charities. I think it's a huge topic at the moment. Microsoft Tech for Social Impact, or Tech for Social Impact in general. A lot of tenders you probably see, Maybelline, that are leaning towards what your social responsibility is, what you're doing in the social sector to win those tenders. And a lot of organisations are now talking to Microsoft because it gives them that tick in the box, essentially, say that you're working with Tech for Social Impact and you're doing good stuff with the social sector, but also it enables them to win more business moving forwards as well. So it's, as I said, and that's we've seen a recent spike in the amount of partners that want to talk to us, and I think that's because one, they want to do good for the social sector, and two, it gives them the tick in the box.
There's a parallel there with your green initiative and similar uptick. You should as units, you should combine forces and lure up the message.
Well, I always say social responsibility isn't just about.
Part of it,
absolutely. Right? It's not social responsibility isn't just about what you're giving back to the social sector. It's about your green credentials. It's about your carbon footprint. It's about your packaging. It's about all of those things. So that's your social responsibility in general. And more and more partners are rewriting their social responsibility now because it's a huge thing. And I know from my experience in the IT sector, one of the key questions that customers ask is, if they're going to procure, is what is your social responsibility? What are you doing giving back? And I think it's a hot topic at the moment, and everyone's looking at that area at the moment.
Do you see that with your customers? More dialogue and questions?
Yeah, and luckily for us, so we have our Beckler Sustainability Squad. So this is a group of employees internally that get together every so often to come up with whether it's charity fundraising days. We've done charity days ourselves, so going out and volunteering. I did that myself, but in a local animal shelter, which is really cool.
It's always an animal shelter.
Yeah.
It's always a local animal shelter.
It's amazing.
Or local sort of farms, just to ensure that we're practicing what we preach, giving back. But also emails are sent out every so often, newsletters on ways, just in our sort of day-to-day lives, what we can do to just help try and sort of do our bit for the planet.
Yeah, and that's great. It's great to see that a giant such as Beckler is also doing back. The philosophy is pretty clear. If you can do something, you should be doing something. And I think that's a huge thing at the moment.
Maybelline, I'm going to put you on the spot now. So why should customers be looking at an MSP like yourselves to go on this journey with? What do you think you bring to the table?
So we look at the investment that our customers are making, and we like to ensure that we're supporting them with their wider plans.
Cool.
So for example, we've got our CSP loyalty scheme, where we offer things such as free workshops, free training, percentage back on CSP spend, and these are things that we just like to sort of wrap around with, so that it's not just sort of transactional licenses. And when it comes to sort of life cycle management and workshops, it's about ensuring that our customers are getting the most out of that investment, but also looking at the future and optimising on that investment.
And do you see, obviously with the great stuff you're doing in non-profit, do you see that there's a requirement from non-profits for partners like yourselves in terms of they lean quite heavily on you for expertise?
Yeah, definitely. And as you say, customers often don't know that support from the TSI team is there, or about those discounts, and it's just about, it's kind of like an educational piece, and that we're there to kind of, whether they need sort of hand-holding on that journey, or they kind of, or if they know a bit already, but just ensuring that they're getting the most out of
the reason I ask the question is when I speak, because I have an element of end-user contact as well, where I talk directly with charities, and often I ask them, do you have a partner aligned with your strategy and what you're looking to achieve? And the question I always get is, how expensive is a partner?
Like a fundamental.
So yeah, and I think
How long
that's
is a
the
piece of
perception.
string?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I think that's the perception that it's going to cost them
Yeah.
to use a partner, but that's not the case, is it? I mean, you guys obviously here to make money, right? You're a business, but you make your money on obviously the reselling of hardware, software, professional services, that sort of stuff. But I guess that cost doesn't really get relayed back to the charity, does it? The non-profit wouldn't see that as a cost to them, right?
Nothing comes for free. It will cost people.
Sure.
However, think sort of long term, it will save people money. If we think back to the pandemic, people working remotely from home, and if they had a partner aligned, that would help them to be more productive and to support there during those difficult times.
Sure. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, no, it's. As I said, you know, they have a perception that it's going to cost them an X amount monthly cost to work with a partner, right? But that's not the case. And I
No.
guess you guys can bring, bring value in terms of education. You can advise, I guess. And I guess in the long term, it works for those guys, right? To
Yeah.
make sure their business continuity continues, if you
Yeah,
like, more than
definitely.
anything. Cool, great, thank you.
Great. So Maybelline, for anyone listening today that isn't currently working with an MSP and likes what they've heard, how can they take it further with you guys?
Well, I'd say quickly, just for existing customers, reach out to your Alliance account manager at Beckler. And for those who haven't spoken with Beckler previously, I'd say reach out either to myself or our CSP inbox, which is csp.uk@beckler.com.
Great.
Lovely. Well, great to talk to you all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
great.
you.
I just want to also say on Microsoft TSI as well, if there's any support that you guys require or any I'm just available on Teams. So the direct point of contact from Microsoft TSI, but also at the same time, if you need any resource from Microsoft, we'll do what we can to support you as well.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, thanks both. Great. Well, I hope this has been informative for those watching today. And once again, thanks, Nav.
You're welcome.
From
Thank
the
you for having
CSI
us.
team, and to David
Pleasure.
from Westcoast Cloud team. And thanks for joining us.